This is WJTV News Channel 12 this morning.
And I'm still learning. One of the things I found out that of all the positions within the church, being a bishop is the only one where you really don't get your training until after you become a bishop.
It's a change in church leadership for the Episcopal Diocese of Mississippi. It's Sunday morning. We're putting faith in focus. One Sunday a year, Episcopals across the state abandon their own buildings and head to Jackson. It's for the annual gathering of the diocese, and it's been going on for 188 years. It's supposed to give people a way to reconnect, but it's also a chance to conduct business, including the business of a bishop changeover. The event's putting faith in focus. Duncan M. Gray III's been bishop, one sort or another, for the past 15 years. But he says it's now time to pass on the crozier.
Well, I'm feeling a lot of different emotions. There's certainly joy and excitement about the next part of my life. There's some anxiety. I've been doing this for a while.
Pass on my pastoral staff.
It's exciting and it's scary. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that there's a lot of fear and trepidation, but it's also, it's the culmination of a process that began a couple of years ago.
51-year-old Brian Sage took the majority in separate votes cast by clergy and lay people. He grew up in Los Angeles, but has served for decades in Mississippi churches at Ocean Springs, Diamond Head, and Ridgeland. And recently, he spent months preparing to step into his role of bishop.
Bishop Gray's been a mentor. He's been a great friend. He is, has taught me so much about how to carry yourself in a leadership role and how to listen.
We have kidded a lot about my own lack of technological sophistication, and Brian is exactly the opposite.
By working together and laboring together, that's where consensus can be reached and compromise can be found. And that's, to me, that's where I've seen really the fruits of the body of Christ working together and really being able to move forward and make a difference.
And what now for Duncan M. Gray III?
None of us go to seminary desiring to be bishops. We look to be parish clergy, parish priest. And so I'm going back for a while to take a position in New Orleans as a young man's assistant for a time, and then we'll return to Mississippi and see what the Lord has in store for us at that point.
And you may have noticed a word I used in that story, crozier. Well, what is that? That is a pastoral staff, a symbol for the bishop that's meant to resemble a shepherd's crook, albeit an extremely ornamental one. Okay, let's head over to weather and see what's going on before this last break.
I'm glad you cleared that up. I was going to ask you the same thing, Jacob.
This is WJTV News Channel 12 this morning.
And so a lot of our ministry efforts too are particularly targeted at South Jackson, and we think we're here to make a difference in this area.
And it's not just today.
New Horizon Church International talks about their home ownership programs. It's Sunday morning. We're putting faith in focus. 3,200 people attend New Horizon Church International, and they certainly have the space for it. They use the space once used by Jackson's old Sack and Save, converting what would have otherwise been blighted space on the south side of town. And it's that idea we're exploring this weekend as church members put faith in focus. Meet Wayne Myers, homeowner.
My actual mortgage is lower than the apartment that I was renting. Now go figure that.
He says it was New Horizon Church International that helped him make the move to South Jackson. Before that, he calls himself brainwashed about supposed crime in the area.
And all you hear on the news is South Jackson, South Jackson, South Jackson, until I moved over there. When I moved to my home where I'm at, I have experienced no crime. As a matter of fact, we've also gotten with the city, and we have formed a neighborhood watch committee.
Bishop Ronnie Crudup calls the effort I-58.
It comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, and there's a verse number 12, that says, those from among you will, once again, will restore the streets to dwell in. We've got a goal of moving 200 of our families actually back into South Jackson as well. That will be a part of that group to work with the neighborhood associations and others.
Well, we go around and we recognize these properties. And then we take some, we do work on them, and we sell them back to members of the church or either different people that wants to get involved with being a homeowner.
The mortgage is also zero interest, Myers says, a decision made by the church emphasizing relationships among neighbors over money.
And so that is really what Isaiah 58 is all about, rebuilding a community.
And you may have heard from a story earlier this week that Bishop Crudup has left for a trip to Africa during a difficult time, clearly, in the Ebola crisis. Bishop Crudup says he will be safe and in another part of the continent far from the center of the outbreaks.
This is WJTV News Channel 12 this morning.
And if we're going to make this city better, then we've got to start doing little one simple thing at a time. And I think Wells Fest does that.
The origin of a growing music festival traces back to a Methodist church in the metro. It is Sunday morning. We are putting faith in focus. If you're looking at the 10 Commandments, trying to find the one that says, thou shalt hold a music festival, well, you just won't find it. However, for One Jackson Church, an event known as Wells Fest continues to grow in size and in the amount of money it can raise for charities. So, Wells Memorial United Methodist Church explores the power of music, putting faith in focus. A booming baritone voice leads the choir in a song that feels like a celebration after the announcement of how much money Wells Fest raised for Partners to End Homelessness.
And we hope to help them with a donation of somewhere between $49,000 and $50,000.
In January, we select the beneficiary in January. We usually have our first planning meeting, usually around the last part of April. And then we'll meet in June, July, August, September, continuously.
Coordinators say this year was Wells Fest's largest ever. About 6,000 people showed up for the two-stage festival that also fills a criteria not many other events can match. There are things to do for kids, no alcohol, and admission is free.
And to see all the things that go on behind the scenes, all the volunteers, the church membership really takes ownership, and I think that creates a lot of camaraderie. If you look when you go out of our church, it says we've worshiped now it's time to go out into the world and do something and make it better. And that's what I think Wells Fest does. As Jim Burt likes to say, it's the hands and feet of Wells Church doing God's work.
I think it has a positive influence on the people that come, and I do think that they take that back into the next week and back into the communities. It rubs off. It has to.
And Wells Fest chooses a different beneficiary every year. Also, the festival relies on volunteers from other community groups coordinated by Wells United Methodist Church.
This is WJTV News Channel 12 this morning.
Christmas time, we get the most attention when the red kettles are out there, and we're getting all the attention, and people are in a giving mode. But need knows no season.
The Salvation Army again dips its ladles for Super Bowl Sunday. We're about to put faith in focus. You know that feeling that you get when you eat a good bowl of soup? Yeah, it fills you up when you're hungry, but I'm talking about that warmth spreading all over. Maybe you've just had a long, cold day outside, or maybe you're visiting grandma's after not seeing her for a while. Well, these good feelings are something the Salvation Army is reaching for during one of their biggest fundraisers. Its name is a pun, Super Bowl Sunday, but no football here, folks, only putting faith in focus. Rows of steamy serving pans fill the Salvation Army's Presto Lane facility. It's a fundraiser in line with the group's mission, which Captain Ken Chapman says is offering soup, soap, and salvation.
In the Salvation Army, we are faith-based, obviously, and we believe that Jesus Christ is the answer to every problem. So everything we do in social services, rent, utilities, food, disaster, however we help people in education, we believe Jesus is the answer, so we always teach that message along with the help we give. The money primarily from our Soup Bowl goes to help our feeding program. We feed over 53,000 people just in Jackson alone, not counting any disasters that we have.
Even Governor Phil Bryant stopped by for the day's event, which included an auction and fashion show. But although most visitors left satisfied with a belly full of soup and a heart warmed after giving, it's the Salvation Army's stance that this mission is never over.
And also there's a great verse in Hebrews that says, I will remember you for the work you have done to help my people. So I believe every time we reach out and help others who are in need, God blesses that effort.
And of course, you probably caught it. Our news crew is also out there to help serve during that event. And if you have another faith-based event that you'd like us to cover, you can find my contact information in the faith section of WJTV.com.